It's been 25 years now. The icy heights of Kargil had become the stage for a brutal high-altitude war. In the summer of 1999, Pakistani intruders camouflaged as militants but backed by the Pakistani army occupied more than 130 Indian posts across the rugged ridgelines of Kargil, Dras, and Batalik. What followed was a hard-fought battle to reclaim every inch of Indian territory. Hand to hand, face to face, post to post, and peak by peak. A quarter century later, the terrain remains the same, but the tools of war have changed. The question we ask is, what if the Kargil war happened today? To understand what it meant to fight and win in Kargil, and how that battle would look in the age of unmanned warfare, we spoke to someone who's been at the heart of India's artillery establishment, Lieutenant General P.R. Shankar, retired Director General of Artillery.
See, the intrusion was quite wide. It was over about 80, 90 kilometers, maybe a little more also. Right? At multiple points, they had come well in. Pakistanis had intruded to a point where they could see this road for a good about 50, 60 kilometers. And then they brought in artillery, deployed artillery, and then they started firing across. And during daytime, it was virtually impossible to move on that road. It was only at night time we used to move on that road. Now, the Kargil area is completely high altitude. Kargil itself is at high altitude. And we're looking at 13,000, 14,000 feet height. And these peaks which were overlooking, the Kargil Dras area, were at about 18,000, 19,000 feet. And that's a place where oxygen is rare. You must understand, high altitudes don't have oxygen, as a result of which normal movement is difficult. Then, even your vehicles, they need oxygen. After all, the engines need oxygen to burn the fuel. They don't get burned. So your engines underperform. Everything underperforms in high altitude. That's the first thing. The second thing is there are not many roads in high altitudes, in mountainous terrain. So it's only the available roads which you can build up on. And either side of the road, there's very little space for deployment because there's steep slopes and things like that. So it's very difficult to deploy in those areas, especially guns and, right. So there's no deployment space. There is no, space to move. You have to bring in, then people underperform. People have to come. And when troops from outside or lower altitudes come into that area, they have to acclimatize minimum, 10, 15 days. So it's not as if it took us a lot of time to first build up. That's why you'll see that when we came to know in April, May, build up started. It was not until June that we really started actually attacking and doing things. Before that, local formations which were, acclimatized did whatever they had to. So, right, then everything had to be done in the face of the enemy. It was open terrain. In those areas, there's no cover, there's no camouflage. Whatever you do can be seen miles away. So those chaps could actually see what we were up to. And so we had to improvise to put decoys up so that, they think that this is the thing. And actually, very surprisingly, we built decoys at that point of time out of cardboards and poles and all that. It worked. And then Pakistanis fired on them also. And whereas we were able to fire, from wherever we were deployed. So multiple problems out there. Then in high altitude, weather is iffy. At times you get very good visibility. At times you don't get visibility. So when you at times of poor visibility, you can't adjust fire. You have to see, where you're firing, and that's one thing. And then when you look from bottom up a slope, you can't make out everything. The chap sitting in the top can make out everything at the bottom. The chap at the bottom can't make out anything. It's a matter of optical sighting. So that was a huge problem. And like I said, observation was a huge problem. We didn't know where the enemy was, and locations we didn't know. We didn't know what was behind the forward ridges. What was the kind of firepower he had deployed behind, what are the logistics he had, what are the roads the enemy had. So, whole lot of problems in high altitude. Physically, I think the army was at its peak. Those people who were actually into the operations. From a perspective, we had Bofors, which was then the most modern weapon system. Air Force didn't work there for obvious reasons. I mean, we had problems in deploying it, and our Air Force couldn't operate very well in high altitudes. Altitudes have their own problem. So it was that. So that was the issue. Yeah, we didn't have satellites, we didn't have UAVs. All those were not there. Communications were by radio and normal line. We didn't have all these fiber optics and all that. A few things we had at base communications, but nothing much more. But this was consistent to that time, right? It was not as if we were at disadvantage for not having any technology. Whatever technology was going at that time, we had. Then we said, okay, this won't get sorted out by just going uphill and assaulting. Assaulting is a secondary thing. First, plaster them with firepower. So build firepower. So then firepower was built. People trained. People carried out reconnaissance. People then said, okay, this is the way to handle them. And we started hitting them with Bofors, Grad, 105 mm, whatever we had, mortars. And then slowly, incrementally, we started, decimating them. Got hold of their outposts at the lower reaches, made them blind, then move ahead. And where it was a critical post, we overwhelmed them with fire. Then at some places, people went from behind and attacked them. It's a mountaineering, till assaults by all that. So then that is how we overcame them. Then we said, okay, which other sequence? First, the people said we should take Tololing, and they took Tololing, and then Tiger Hill, and then others also in other sectors also started falling. So it was a methodical operation. It lasted nearly a month.
War has evolved. It's beyond mere boots on the ground. Today, it's about what you can see before the enemy does and how fast you can strike. From deep penetration drones to loitering munitions and swarm systems, India's technological edge has sharpened dramatically since 1999. Now, that evolution was on full display during Operation Sindhu, where indigenous drones played a decisive role in surveillance, target acquisition, and precision strikes. To understand just how far India's drone capabilities have come and how they're reshaping the future of warfare, we spoke to Tanmay Bankar from Botlab Dynamics, a company at the very forefront of building India's next generation of autonomous aerial systems.
I had the good fortune of visiting Dras last year. So we went there with a drone. Like we took one of the light show drones that were there. And we went to the Kargil War Memorial. The pressure is 30% less than what you have in, say, Delhi or Bombay. That environment is the first enemy. The person sitting on top is your second enemy. So again, if you have to go on top, you attract fire, you take a few casualties, and then only you know where the other guy is. If you have a few drones with you, you can actually figure out where the guy is. And again, you can do it at night also. Now, the enemy will not have the luxury of even cooking, because as soon as they do, that place is so cold that anything emitting any thermal signature will be picked up relatively quickly. The other point is that in order for me to engage the other guy, I have to be in the small arms radius of the other person. Whereas if you have an FPV drone today, I can take it through the window of that bunker. I will go for the firing port directly. The other point, if they have resupplies on the other side, I don't even have to take out the bunker. I'll take out their supplies first. They can sit there and do what they want. You can't fight without your supplies. So those are the things that I went there, and I was hosted by the army, and they said, you see that bunker over there? That is where the Netherlands infantry is sitting. Like, and my first thought was, sir, how long would it take you to go up? He's like, it takes us on a good day maybe 5 to 6 hours and 12 hours, depending on how the slope is. I remember there was Tolo Link, there was Batra Top, and there was Tiger Hill. I could see the peaks. And I say, if I have a drone, I can reach there in probably less than 15 minutes. Those drones are with us, not us, with a number of companies in India today. And if they dare come today and sit in those bunkers, they will welcome them very, very nicely on this thing. The other point I remember was, and this is quite, we were denied GPS. We were denied GPS and during Kargil. We have Navic today. Like a lot of the drones that we operate, and I'm sure others also operate, are Navic capable now. They can deny us GPS today, we'll navigate off of our own constellation. So technology has changed, a lot has changed. We have become independent as a sovereign country. And then I think static warfare was dead then. It might give you an advantage for a small period of time, but that kind of warfare itself is obsolete now. You can't just say, oh, I'll sit here now, get me out. We have better ways. Our terminal guidance is so much better. We don't need 50 kgs. With 500 grams placed in the right position, you can take the other guy out. So we have already talked about ISR, but there are drones which are taking up replenishment operations, as in it can take 20-40 kgs. Like normally a fully laden helicopter, while it's filled with fuel, how much weight can it carry? Less than one person's worth. But now you have drones that can carry 20, 30, 40 kgs from one point to the other, and you can resupply your guys using drones itself. There are drones that are deployed. I'll not say it is enough in numbers, but if the need arises, we can quickly send a few drones there, have our guys resupplied, help them in their fight, and give them the standoff that is needed so they are out of the harm of the other guy's fire. So I think drones is only limited by the imagination of the operator that is using it. That is good and bad because we can use them, so can the other guy.
We've heard about what happened 25 years ago and how young officers and jawans climbed almost vertical cliffs under relentless fire to reclaim every inch of Indian territory. We've seen how far drone technology has come since then, offering eyes in the sky, precision firepower, and real-time battlefield intelligence. But what would all this mean if a Kargil-like conflict were to erupt today? Would AI-assisted drones replace human scouts? Would artillery be guided by real-time ISR feeds instead of human spotters? To answer that, we went back to Lieutenant General P.R. Shankar to ask that if Kargil were to happen in 2025, not 1999, how would India fight it?
Today you have satellite imagery, you have UAVs, right? You have other ground patrols, everything. So the extent of this intrusion will be very clearly known to everyone, where everyone is. So you can pinpoint, your targets are very clear. Those days, the targets were only clear when the chap fired at you and then you fired back and acquired those targets and things like that. That would not be there. You would not only know what is in front of you, you would also know what's behind them. In the river slopes where they are deployed, where their infrastructure is, where their logistics bases are, where their guns are, where there's ammunition. The second thing is you can bring in heavy long-range missiles through Ladakh. You airland them into Ladakh and move them down south. I'm taking the same setting of Kargil because move down south and all your long-range vectors can be airlifted into that area and you can build up ammunition from the air. So your build-up is going to be fast and you're going to have reach and you're going to have reach well into Pakistan. Today, these people are equipped with night vision devices. They're equipped with laser range finders, thermal imagers. So you're looking at as if you're fighting at daytime. So your ability is very good. The next thing which is very important is today's guns have the night vision and night fighting capability up to 5 kilometers. At 5 kilometers, if you can pick a target and hit it, and you have the sighting systems to do that. So you can actually pick a target at night. The gun itself can pick a target at night and destroy it. The fundamentals of what happened in Kargil will remain the same. The time will start collapsing. The time will collapse because, you can build up faster out there. You can push in more ammunition. You have different sophisticated ammunition. You have no dearth of ammunition. You have better guns. You have better missiles. You can start hammering them, and you can start cutting them off. And our infantry as a result can be bolder. You can then, also, like I told you earlier, you can block off today in current realities. You can block off the Chinese, right? So I think overall, this whole story will collapse. It's a collapsible story in terms of time. The time collapse is what you can achieve with modern gun systems, ammunition, and planning and everything. And you also networked. And of course, just remember that Pakistan didn't use Air Force then. We also didn't use Air Force. We don't need to use Air Force even now. I mean, I don't think we need to get into the Air Force at all. With just what we have, and we can get ahead. You also have to remember we have attack hepters. Even those you can use from air to ground. So you have a plethora of equipment. Those days we didn't have all this. Today you have attack hepters, you have loitering ammunition, you have guns which can, take on direct firing at 6 kilometers. It is awesome. Plus you have BrahMos, you have Pinaka, you have Smirch. I mean, the works. So you are in a different time zone altogether now. So I will say if what took 30 days those days, I think we should be able to wrap it up in about 15, 20 days.